just thinking to myself, like, yo, it's crazy that, like, before, like me, like Tyler, like, before we go get up, it ain't no shade room, it ain't not taking nothing away from the shade room, shout out to them, like, we looking at what about to talk about. Bro, I know that the game could get stale, and I know that it, like I said, it evolves with ball. And I know that people think your heydays when there's a lot of Chicago drill beef going on, but like, show us what you listening to, bro. Show us what you like today. Show us what we should be listening to. You a taste maker. That's why we look to you. You know what I'm saying?
No, I appreciate that. And that's a valid, I think.
So here, one thing that he did is he's talking exactly like Tyler, the Creator. Now, Akademiks said that he had a conversation with Tyler, the Creator, and Tyler was saying in a different interview why Akademiks, like he felt a certain type of way because Akademiks never posted him, and he felt like because Akademiks didn't really post him, he didn't feel like he got validated as a rapper because he's like, yo, when I'm thinking hip hop pages, he's like, I wake up every day and the first thing I check is Akademiks, and ASAP Rocky here is saying something similar. So this is, I get where they're coming from because let's say you're an ASAP Rocky, let's say,
right, but it's different, bro. When ASAP and Tyler drop, you have to understand that Akademiks is also somebody who's super involved with the mainstream rap. The Pooh Shiesties, the Glorrillas, all the most degenerate, absolute hogwash rap music, NBA Youngboy Drake, just the most low mental capacity thinking goy slop that exists is Akademiks. So for somebody that is making what I would consider to be high art, like ASAP Rocky and Tyler, the Creator, for them to sort of feel slighted because Akademiks didn't post them is absolutely stupid. Unless you're looking at it from a media outlet perspective of saying, oh, this media outlet didn't post me, then I can understand the shade. But Akademiks, from a heritage standpoint, is nowhere near the likeness and level of, say, The Source, XXL, or even something like Rolling Stone. Akademiks is just some low-level YouTuber. That's the mindset one could have. But knowing how the new landscape of media is, Akademiks is at the forefront of commenting on hip-hop. So for them to say that, I can understand the slight. But that also has to come from the ego of being an artist, of being like, yo, my shit isn't everywhere. It should be everywhere. But you kind of have to sort of pick and choose your battles, because when you really come to think of it, the fan base that Tyler has and his ability to do what he's been able to do, that's a blessing. The fact that ASAP can take all those years off that he was able to take and still come back and have such a cult following for people still wanting to consume his work, that is also a blessing, because if we're really gonna get down into the nitty gritty of it, that ASAP Rocky album isn't hitting, bro. That's not hitting.
you're a Tyler, the Creator. People will be like, yo, these
And I've said this, ever since Yams passed, Rocky has never been the same.
As rappers, they must be so plugged in, tapped in. Not really. So you have two options. You either have someone on your team or someone close to you. Think of a Lil Yachty to a Drake that has the pulse on everything and is paying attention to what's going on. And even for a Yachty, it's difficult because you got to think of the lives of these guys. They're either touring, recording, working on something else. Tyler has golf. He has other things that he's doing. Shows as in maybe like some fashion show, maybe something else that he's doing. As well as ASAP Rocky, he's got family. He's got multiple kids. He's got whatever Rihanna's going. He's traveling consistently. He's designing things himself with Ray-Ban, at least that is. And on top of that, he also had a legal case that he was dealing with. So you need a buffer. You need somebody that's going to let you know, yo, what's hot in what I'm working on, which is rap, because he needs to make sure he knows what's hot there. So going to Akademiks, you're really going to get the pulse of what's hot, because Akademiks,
Yeah, that's true, but why doesn't he have somebody in his own team that's able to tell him what's going on? Like, unless he thinks that, like, but from an aesthetic standpoint, the album and the genres and ideas that Rocky was pushing on Don't Be Dumb, it's not like it's crazy left field like the man's when he did a hardstyle album. It's still sort of in that landscape of hip-hop. Hip-hop has become more punk rock than ever before. So the ideas that Rocky is playing with on his album, they're very to the times. So the fact that you would say that Rocky would have to go to Akademiks to understand where the sort of the needle is on hip-hop before he goes and starts making his album is a little bit crazy.
says, he's like, yo, I'm not posting these underground dudes. Get popping, get lit, and then you're going to start seeing me talking about you. So it makes sense that if they're like, all right, I want to see what's going on in hip hop, they go to Akademiks page. And it makes sense that they wouldn't go to the shade room because it's like, what are they really going to find in the shade room? And he says, yo, I really want to see what you're listening to. And this is how I know he's not that tapped in, which is okay and understandable. Because if you wanted to see what Akademiks is listening to, you would just go to the beginning of any Akademiks stream. Anywhere from, now this is where you really have to be tapped in. You're basically only like one of the closest Akademiks followers if you know this, because, not if you know this, if you pay attention to this, because previously Akademiks was on Twitch. He got permanently banned banned on Twitch for the incident last year involving the moderator, Noor, of Blackboy Max. I was 15 years old. He was asking him inappropriate stuff. I wouldn't say they blew it out of proportion because it was wild what he did. However, they tried to make it seem
The stuff that Akademiks was saying was wild.
like Akademiks
That's
into
crazy.
a young like boy, which was definitely not the case. He was just inappropriate. Definitely wasn't into the kid. With that being said, that got him permanently banned. Before that, a lot of people watch Akademiks on Twitch, and on Twitch you can play music. Like they have some licensing deal and they just mute it afterwards. But now he's mainly streaming on YouTube and Facebook, and I think Rumble still he might co-stream there, and Kick. Kick is the least used platform. So he will go live first on Kick, and he will stream 30, 40 minutes of music or something like that, maybe even an hour, and then he'll go live on the other platforms. But the majority of people, including me, watch him on YouTube because Kick is just inconvenient. Unless you're Aiden Ross or maybe 2 other streamers, I'm not really opening up Kick. Or you're only streaming on Kick. So that's how somebody would get a read on what Akademiks is listening to. And ASAP Rocky, he's clearly not really plugged in like that. He's probably catching stream clips of Akademiks, maybe YouTube videos that are cut down from his stream. And I don't expect ASAP Rocky to be paying attention to this because even me, I'm not paying attention to this like that. Because like I'm really looking at like, okay, what's Akademiks streaming about? I'm probably maybe catching a replay on YouTube, which would have the music out anyway. And you catch the strikes live on YouTube if you're playing music, unlike Twitch. So that's
Heavy,
why that
bro.
is.
Heavy. That was the main reason why I had to stop doing reaction videos to music videos on YouTube, because my streams, like, that's what gave me sort of community guideline strikes, bro, because you're playing third-party content. And I was like, yo, this is crazy, because when I do it on Twitch, no one gets mad.
The thing is, 2 songs I know for sure that Akademiks put a lot of support into, and a lot of people discovered them from his Twitch streams, was Last by Burna Boy. Now I know the international crowd, especially my UK heads, especially my
Last is a banger.
Niger boys that are in the chat or that are in the comment section, and also maybe some Europeans are like, man, Last was huge before Akademiks ever listened to it. 100%, you are correct, absolutely. I even heard Last before Akademiks, but that was because of a friend of mine from London that put me onto the song. But when I'm talking about US hip hop audience that follows Akademiks, many of them discovered Burna Boy through Akademiks repeatedly playing that song every single stream. It's like not clockwork, it's like radio play. There was also this Skillabang song, I believe, who's a Jamaican artist. He was playing him a lot too. Now, ASAP Rocky is correct because he's telling Ak like this is a temperature check, where it's like, yo, I'm tuned into your page. Now, I'm not super plugged in like one of your chat guys, which is like a couple thousand people, maybe like 10,000, let's say, or so. If we're talking about concurrent viewers, like people that unique viewers,
Right.
they may not be watching every single stream, but like let's say over a week, there are 10,000 that are going to be watching the intro where Akademiks plays a bunch of music, where he kind of DJs. I'm outside of those 10,000 people, but I'm interested to see what you're listening to. So why don't you just put it in a playlist, which I think Akademiks has a playlist, but why don't you just make it something that you're more vocal about? And I think this is a very good feedback that Akademiks should take. Because Akademiks, and I don't know why he didn't reply with this, maybe he does reply a little bit later in the clip, but sometimes the Akademiks has this habit, and I think this is when because Akademiks is amazing at monologuing. He's amazing at his job. His job is to talk. So when he's in an interview setting, he is not a good interviewer. Now, some people say, well, Vlad overtalks his interviewer. Well, Vlad architects the exact structure of his interview. So whenever someone deviates, he's going to interrupt him and bring him back, or he's going to interrupt them to move it along to whatever answers he wants, because he's thinking about it a different way. With Akademiks, sometimes it feels like he's waiting for the other person. He's trying to burst to talk instead of responding to what the person is saying. You know, he can't have every skill, right? He's amazing at what he does. So hopefully he does address that and says like, yo, I actually do listen to, or I actually do show a bunch of the music that I listen to in my streams, but I hope he takes it as feedback to just maybe post about it more on his page, because you're listening to that music anyway. It's your intro music, but there's so few of your audience that's even watching the intro, because for them to catch the intro, they would have to have Kick, and they would have to have the notifications on for you on Kick, because that's when you're starting it up. And how many people have that? Very few. But how many people want use?
Right, but even though that aspect of it is not being sort of tailored for the platform, I think it's one of those things where you can't knock him for still playing the music on Kick at the beginning of the stream. If people are getting in at the start of the stream and they're able to listen to music, that's still a good chunk enough of people that are able to catch those songs that are being played. But it's so crazy that this is a landscape where single individuals have the sort of power to push and be the media for your product when you're releasing music, and that sort of ASAP and Tyler would be so kind of butthurt about the situation of not actually getting their music streamed by these singular individuals. It's so wild. Like the power of the idea of the influencer in certain mediums, it makes sense. Just being an influencer to influence kids to buy stupid, crappy products, I think is dumb.
Akademiks as a pulse of what's going on and would like to know what he's listening to see what's poppin' or hot, or just generally what his music taste is. That's a much bigger number, in the hundreds of thousands, I would say. ASAP Rocky also makes a good point and says like media can get stale when you're just focusing on like what happened, which is like Chicago drill, or I would say more so people are.
Akademiks doesn't even update on that anymore, bro. That's That's old. That's like the Chirac stuff.
Reminiscing now on 2017, 2018, 6ix9ine era, 6ix9ine SoundCloud era, more so than Chicago drill era. But yeah, when we're talking about what's next, I think this is difficult because Akademiks does react to a lot of drama, but that's really most of what's going on, and that drives a lot of the music. It's just that we had drama and controversy and beef, and music was attached to it, and now it feels like there isn't much music attached to any of these things. And it feels like this is a broader conversation, but a lot of songs now feel like they're the background music of a TikTok trend that is part of some movement, or I don't even really know, man. Like, it's a lot of this is just difficult to see where music is going because there aren't a lot of scenes. It's very
right. And that's the unfortunate part about the new meta that I've been saying to a lot of homies, is that every single medium, every single world, every single category, whether it's fashion, music, food, whatever all that is, business, everybody is a content creator. Your forefront has to be content. You have to be the face of whatever subject matter that you're trying to do, and then your sort of product is in the back end. Especially when you look at people like Clavicular coming up on the whole looks maxing thing. People want a face, and then whatever product you have in the back end, that takes a sort of back seat. Whereas before it was, my music is good, my music is amazing, and people will like me for my music, and then after they'll get to know the character afterwards. And it's not that way now. When you look at all the sort of influencers that are coming up and moving forward, you see them and you say to yourself, oh, you have to be the face first, and then you can shill me whatever sort of grift you want afterwards, whether it's your product, a CPG product, music, media, whatever the case might be. And I think the situation with ASAP is that he has forgotten that. He has forgotten that, sure, his music is good, but I think he hasn't been able to adjust. Not forgotten, but he hasn't been able to adjust to the new meta of, we want to see ASAP Rocky. You can't hide and go be a creative director behind the scenes for Ray-Bans. You can't go ahead and chill and be a father with Rihanna. You can still do those things, but we want to see the sort of day in and day out of what ASAP Rocky is doing. The people of today want to be influenced by Rocky. He can't go ahead and do these 7-year stints where he's barely showing his face. That isn't going to work in the new medium of today, where small business owners who are running coffee shops, they're putting themselves as the face of their content every single day, and they have multiple means of distribution: Twitter, TikTok, Reddit, whatever the case might be, Instagram, all these things, YouTube. Like, Rocky needs to adjust it to the new medium.